Welcome to the first ever Square and the Round podcast with Chris Kelly and BB Shea. BB Shea, good to see you.
Good to see you as well, man. How's it going?
And we've known each other how long now?
7-8 years, I think.
I was going to say 7 or 8 months. Weird. Anyway, somebody had the idea, let's do a podcast, which we've never done, but we enjoy working together. So here we are, and we called it the Square and the Round because my personality is total square.
Yes.
As Quentin Tarantino did in Pulp Fiction.
Just like that, 90-degree angles.
Square, right? And you have a perfectly round head.
Yes.
That's what people notice about you is your perfectly round head. And then just before we went on, you said, I think it would be a good idea to have me as a millennial, meaning yourself, as a millennial, ask a question of a guy who is now I'm Gen X.
Yeah.
So what is the question? That's very intriguing to me because we do have an age difference.
Yeah.
What is the question?
So I want to know, when were you kind of in your prime? No, I don't want to say in your prime, but like, when do you think you came online and you were like, any
day now, any day now. I'd say.
I was thinking like, when do you think you were in like this is like the middle of my life. This is where I'm really taking everything in.
Yep.
Maybe like late 80s, early 90s, something like that.
Yeah, that's late 80s is my really, I was high school, college. I really enjoyed that time. I'm always like looking back at that time.
Yeah.
With such nostalgia. That's why I think that the nostalgic television shows and movies from the 80s do so well, and music from the 80s. Stranger Things, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because there's so many people like me who are streamers now and Gen X who remember that time with a fondness. That time, I hate to do this old man thing, but it's like, what you remember youth as being better probably than it really was.
No, I think that's the case. Everybody feels that way.
They do. And I feel like that time was just a phenomenal time for everything. Right now, I think like my kids, my son, my daughter, who are 18 and 14, it's like all the answers are too easy for them. It's right there on the phone. They have it at all times.
You really have no excuse to say, I don't know.
Exactly. And yet, they do all the time.
Yeah.
My son, let me say this. My son, who is 18, and I just read this. This is interesting, that people who are just out of college, my son's just out of high school, but people who are just out of college now, when they go into work for a corporation, they're now being trained, and this was in the Wall Street Journal, they're being trained on how to make eye contact, how to send the proper email, that kind of thing. Like they're not even paying attention to anything or anybody around them. And a lot of their schooling, their high school years were over Zoom because of the pandemic.
Sure.
So they literally don't know how to make eye contact with other people. And I thought, my God, have we gotten to that point?
That's unfortunate.
But my son, now he's going into college.
Yeah.
All right, now I want your opinion on this.
Sure.
His roommate was just assigned. He's going to go to East Carolina University, and his roommate was just assigned, and he doesn't know him. He's the guy, the kid's from 2 hours away or whatever. And so we got the assignment the other day, and all we got were the parents' names, the kid's name, and the kid's email address that goes through East Carolina University. So we told my son, email him, set it up, give him your phone number so he can call you or text you, and maybe you'll be there at the same time for an orientation. We can meet up, all that kind of thing. Well, my son's like, oh, God, no. So it was like, well, why? Why? No, don't you want to? And he's like, oh, nobody does that. And I thought, but you're going to be living with this person literally in a month. You're going there to live. Yeah. Wouldn't you like to at least see him or talk to him beforehand, know what he's like? Because a lot of times when you do your roommate thing, you say, I want a non-smoker and this and that. So my wife finally laid down the law and said, well, you got to do it by this Sunday or I'm going to do it for you in my speak. And we told him what to write. We were like, hey, it's great to hook up. You want to get it? And he just wrote, hi, my name is so-and-so, and here's my number. Okay. So.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. The kid texts him, and the kid says to him, sup, bruh. So he's just like him.
Yeah, they're going to fit in perfectly,
Yeah. So I said to my son, well, write him back and say, hey, I can't wait to meet you in person and looking forward to the East Carolina experience. And when are you there for orientation? So I told my son said, what should I write? And I told him everything. And he wrote back, all good, bro. Okay. All right, so that's where they left it.
Yeah.
And I said, is there can we do anything more than this? And he said, no, he didn't want, he's like, I'll just meet him the day I meet him. And I said, fine. Now then, yesterday, an interesting development. And how would you handle this as a father?
Yeah.
And you're not a father
not
yet. You're
close.
young.
Not even close.
Not there. The kid texted my son and said, do have to ask you one thing, bruh. And I thought,
okay.
okay, right. And I said, okay. And so my son writes back, okay, what? And he goes, do you smoke weed or mind someone who does smoke weed? So I thought, okay, let me have his number.
I need a plug.
Maybe there's a right. Is there a little something? Need a little hookup, you know? But I said, how are you going to answer that? And so he wrote him back and said, well, I don't, but I know people who do. And I thought this was a real win in parenting that my son even told me about this. Do you think so?
No, I definitely think so, because he could have easily just kept that from you.
Of course.
And, if he wants to dabble, then he knows he does, and he could say, hey, man, let's, do a little something.
So my son writes back, I don't, but I have no problem if you do.
Yeah.
And I said, now my wife and my son and I were all like, well, do you think maybe he's making sure you don't? Because he doesn't want to be with anybody who smokes weed. But I thought, no, he probably smokes it.
Yeah, obviously. I think it's more acceptable now.
Don't you?
I think it's a lot more accepted, especially in college, because this is the time when you're supposed to be experimenting.
Let me tell you something. I wish I'd done it more in college.
I'm telling you, man. I am telling you.
I discovered it late in college, and when I did... Oh my God!
I missed out on some prime time smoke sessions.
Me too.
Man.
Do you know I've told this before on our radio show, but the first time I ever saw it, I was playing poker. I was about 16, and some 18-year-olds invited me to play poker after work, and they started lighting up the bong, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is what
is it?"
I've heard about it. Nancy Reagan told us about it. That's the age difference we had. Nancy Reagan used to do a thing called "Just Say No," and I took it to heart, and I did, and it passed right by me, and it's like, "Oh my God." But then when I got to college, someone did introduce it to me. And the first time I had it, I was like, holy cow. And I think my son has not done that. But I think he probably will now, because it'll be all around him.
Absolutely. Yeah, because where I was, I had a lot of people around me that smoked constantly.
Yeah.
And I never did. It was never my thing.
Good for you.
But I would drink.
Yeah.
The first time I ever did it, I was blackout drunk.
Well, were you?
Yes, and I bet myself.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I'll smoke it.
Yeah.
Give me that pipe. I'll smoke that thing.
Yeah.
So I hit it, and 5 minutes later, I thought I was dying.
No, you did.
I thought I was on death's door.
You didn't like the
No, I did not like it.
Well,
I think
really
it was the
drunk.
cross buzz.
Yeah.
So I was laying in my bunk bed, and I was crying. I was sobbing uncontrollably, and I had my roommate. I was like, I need you to hold my hand, bro. I was like, I'm going to die, bro. And he goes, shut up. You'll be okay.
Yeah, what a nice experience.
And so, I've tried it since then with better experiences. But
well, the first time I did it, it was just like the greatest. I couldn't believe it. I mean, to me, it beats drinking hands down.
I 100% agree.
Personally.
And it's so easy.
Yes. And now there's no, like he texted him about it. He's like, do you do it? The kid, his roommate says, don't worry, I have odor resistant, or I have smell-free containers where he puts it in a container and he can't smell it.
Yeah.
He's, I'm going to be really respectful of you, bro, and that kind of stuff. So now we know. And then my wife's like, we should tell his parents. And I said, oh, no, we're not going to. Don't get involved with that.
That's a slippery slope right there.
It's college. I mean, it's college. I have no problem if that kid does. I prefer my son not to do it his freshman year.
Sure.
Would be nice, but I'm not that naive to think that he won't. Yeah. But I was really stunned that he brought it up to him so openly like that, because what you said is right. It's much more.
Well, I mean, that's the difference between the generations. Like you said, Nancy Reagan was on TV. Hey, don't do this. And now it's like, whatever.
Well, it's legalized.
Yeah, it's legalized now. People don't care. People just do it out in the open.
Exactly. It's legal in half the states. And they do it. I'll tell you, I caught a kid here. And one time, this is about... probably 14 or 15 years ago. And I came back from a beach trip, and the kid who was the boss's son was in his car, and I was picking up my car here at the station. And I saw plumes of smoke coming out of the car, and I was like, oh, my God. So what I wanted to say was, give me some. But I can't do that. I cannot do that. That's not something, because I had a little reputation to uphold.
Sure.
But I do. I agree. And I think that and my son was like, well, at least I know he's not like some loser. He's not a, what did he call him? Some sort of geek or what,
Yeah, exactly.
He's not, he has actually done something. It's normal, I guess, for him to be doing that.
Is he looking forward to meeting him? Has he made any more effort other than that to try to get to meet him?
It doesn't seem like he's looking forward to it at all. And I get it that he doesn't know him, but it's just like, my God, don't you? And it turns out they did do a little more texting. There's an orientation there in 2 weeks. My wife's taking it. I can't. But
Yeah.
my wife's taking it for an overnight thing, and he's going to be there at the same time. So they're going to meet at that
Nice.
time.
Okay.
My son chose the school because there's a Raising Cane's restaurant in the... That turned out... He confided to me that later. He was down between a few schools. And one of them, I went to Appalachian State University, so I was pushing him that way. But he really liked East Carolina, and the primary reason now, it turns out months later, is it has a Raising Cane's chicken joint in the student union.
I get it. I heard the sauce was
Oh, my God.
immaculate.
Well, apparently.
I've never been, but I heard the sauce is worth it.
Apparently it's fantastic.
So he's saying, hey, sorry, Dad, I can't hang on to your legacy.
That's right.
They have a Raising Cane's, and Appalachian
Wouldn't
doesn't.
you think, Appalachian doesn't have anything like that. Wouldn't you think that he would have based it on something other than that? But no, he went for the sauce and he went for the Raising Cane's. Now, you asked me that question about, now I've almost forgotten. When my prime time was.
Yeah.
I would say late 80s, early 90s. And it was a good time to be in prime time, in my opinion.
Okay.
But now and another thing is I heard this the other day. You can look at the past, don't stare at the past. But I think I do too much staring at that time.
I have the same issue.
Yeah?
I have the same issue.
Do you? Even as young as you are?
Yeah, even so. Like, especially in my college years, I'm not super far removed from that.
Right.
And that was an important time in my life, and now I'm thinking about it constantly.
Are you?
I try not to. Dwell
Well, here
on
you
it.
are 30.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, the world, and we were talking about this the other day, it's changed so much from when I was that age, 18, 19, 22. When I got out of college, I could get a job and make a living wage. I could work, and pay for an apartment. My first apartment was $415 a month. It was a one-bedroom.
That's incredible.
Well, I know you.
Oh, my God.
Well, it was $415.
I'd be flexing on everybody if I paid $450 a month.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Come on.
But I see you, and I also I mentioned this to you. I read this article that said that people of your generation, Gen Z, or you're millennial.
I'm a millennial,
right,
yeah.
are no longer hanging out with anybody older because people who are even 10 years older have more money, and you have to get away from them in order to not try and keep up with them and spend all that money.
That's fair.
It's really a bad time, I think.
Yeah,
for you. What can be done? Because I think I made when I started out of college, I made $18,000 a year, and my apartment was $415. This is 1993-4.
Yeah.
And my apartment was $415 a month, and I made $18,000 a year, and I made it work. I had and I could go out and the women I was showing off.
That's what I'm saying,
That's
man.
right. All the time. But I could make it work. But now I don't think, and I know that salaries have not kept up with prices, because a one-bedroom apartment now is how much?
$1,500, $1,200, $1,500.
No.
Yes, you'd be surprised.
No.
Yes.
I thought you were going to say 8.
No, maybe, but you don't want to live there.
So based on the fact that if my $400 apartment is now, let's even say $1,200.
Sure,
that's 3 times. So you need to make $54,000 a year starting out, and people
That's
aren't.
pretty. Yeah, no.
And you're not doing that.
No.
That's the that is the whole. That to me, as you look over inflation, which is tough, and of course the country's divided, and there's all these all the political problems and everything we have. That is the big part of it, is that so few people now have a ton of money. Then there are a lot of people on the bottom, and that middle class is just gone.
Well, I mean, the thing about it is we grew up watching people like yourself live that American dream.
That's the dream.
You
That's
work
right.
hard, you get a house, you get a family. And that's not attainable at this point in my life. And it's kind of unfortunate because we grew up watching it, reaching for it, and now it's just getting farther and farther out of reach.
That's what it should be.
Yeah, and it sucks. And it's a weird thing to see.
How do we fix that? Where does that go? Because America is, I do believe in this. America is a place where you should be able to get out of college, get a job. The harder you work, you have the attainability of the American dream, and it's harder and harder now. I do think that wealth is going to the top, and it's very difficult for you to do it. And I do like the fact that in America you can, it's so much about what you put in, you should get out.
Yeah.
But it's not working anymore.
No, it's not.
Not like it used to. Anyway.
And it's weird, especially on social media, seeing people younger than me out living in fame, fancy places and stuff like that.
Is it because they are become social media influencers
I think that's
and all
what
that?
it is.
But if you're not one of those lucky few, then you have a problem.
Yeah, you're just struggling. Yeah.
Now you will be because of this podcast.
I hope so.
That's what I mean. And once people see you, they're going to go, "My God, you should be the model."
The square head.
You'll be modeling clothing, of course, for everybody. But it has become, and I read, this is about expense as well. And I was just talking about this a couple of days ago, that Disney for a family of 4 has become so unaffordable. It's like, how do you do it?
I go.
How can you do it? And for someone like you who's 30 years old, is Social Security going to hold out?
Exactly.
And you're living with your parents.
It's hard to be excited about the future. It is.
It is. It is difficult. Now, how do you fix that? Well, if you were running for president, what would you do about that?
See, I'm the wrong person to ask there, bro.
I can't.
Just give me more money, I guess. I guess that's the weird thing to say.
You know my idea. Now, I stole this from an episode of West Wing.
Okay.
You ever watch West Wing?
Never saw it. Heard great. I'm a big Aaron Sorkin fan. So
that's a great show. It's one of my all-time favorites. Now, I'm not a liberal, but it's a pretty liberal show.
Yeah.
But one of their episodes, which I really like, is about education. And they would say this all the time, is like education, they would call it the silver bullet, where I think, and I don't know how in the world you would do this, but if every single public school in America was really fantastic. I mean, and no matter if I'm from a rich gated community in Los Angeles versus the poorest part of Los Angeles, I go to school at the rich place and you go to school at the poor place, but our schools are going to be the same because the teachers are making huge money.
Sure.
If they paid them all and then everybody has the same opportunity. There's no need for private school. And then we all really do, for 18 years, you get your shot at, I'm going to go to school and get a great education just as you are. And then once I get out, I can go to college, and then I'm on equal footing at 22 years old. Would that do it? You know, they call that they said then that solves the problem of a lot of crimes because kids stay off the streets, a lot of bullying because, again, the teachers are making $250,000 a year, all of them.
True. Yeah.
And we put our money into that rather than other stuff. And as far as money goes in the government, it seems like we just print it at will anyway. You know, so it's
that seems to be the case, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
you know, that very well could work. I don't know. Maybe we need to start electing people who care more so about the future. I don't know.
Yeah, but we never do.
But as far as we need the money now.
And the and the politicians. God, this is such a It's been said a million times, but and you just said it the other day. The politicians, all they do is they care about their own jobs and their own money and themselves, and they don't seem to care nearly as much as they should about. I'm going too liberal on this.
Well,
I'm going too liberal.
Yeah, and
I shouldn't be.
We could discuss politics all day, but here was the question I wanted to ask.
Yes.
So, you know,
you hadn't even asked your question yet. We started this with you haven't even asked it yet.
How easy it is, but no.
How interesting.
So I was going to say is, you know, from 90s till now, you know, when you were kind of in your prime, what has been the technological advance or thing that's popped up that's made you really go, wow, this is incredible? And what's one thing from the past that you wish you could bring back that was still relevant and around today?
Oh, what a great question.
Because, you know, I always remember the internet being around.
Oh, you do?
Yes. Even though I was born in 92, it was always kind of just there.
Yeah, it started, I remember the internet from the early 90s, 94 or so.
Yeah.
And when somebody told me about it, and I used it for the first time, I went on to whatever.com, and I even then thought, it's not that big a deal. But then it's, you know, so it sort of gradually became, a big deal. And I remember the day somebody told me, I was looking for the answer on something, and I was asking Jeeves. You know, Ask Jeeves?
I did do Ask Jeeves.
Terrible, terrible invention. That's one I wish had never. That was an awful, awful thing.
Nice guy, just didn't get the job done.
But a coworker said, try this. Type in the word www.google, Google, and I did it, and it was like, okay, now look at Google. My God, the artificial intelligence and stuff they're going through. I mean, the internet maybe, but I would almost say the smartphone more so than the internet.
Yeah.
Of course, the internet led to the smartphone. But I think the smartphone is such a double-edged thing because I use it so much for the convenience of it, and yet I loathe seeing, for instance, my son or somebody just staring at it or scrolling through TikTok all day because I think it's such a brain suck.
Yeah,
Don't you
agree.
think?
I'm the same way. I often find myself going like, I need to get away from this.
Yeah.
But then again, I also take a step back and I go, what an amazing thing we have.
Oh, my God, yes.
This is such a cool thing that we get to use.
But everything we just talked about the economic wage gap and so forth, where my time was easier to get a job. And let's say the internet hadn't been invented. Let's say it just stayed. You read the newspaper, you listened to the radio, you watched television at night. Like, of course, I remember my young days when I was 10, 12, 18 years old. That's what we did. You know, we went to school. We only knew the people we were with. You read the paper. That was it. I think the wage gap would not be nearly as big.
I don't think so either.
Now, there wouldn't be nearly as much wealth.
No
way. Because look at I mean, look at all the people who get wealthy.
The opportunities that the internet has afforded the economy has been fantastic.
But if you don't take advantage of that, like I watch Shark Tank all the time.
Sure.
You know that.
Oh my God.
I just stumbled on
Love
that.
the show.
Do you?
I'm a Shark Tank fanatic.
I didn't know about. I mean, I've heard about it for years. My wife 2 months ago said you should watch Shark Tank, and I thought, okay. It's just amazing. It's an incredible show.
Who's your favorite shark?
God, I'm torn between them. I love them all.
Yeah.
I really, probably Mark Cuban, but I am so torn.
I feel bad for the other ones. I feel like a lot of people get on there.
They want to be with him.
They want to be with Mark Cuban.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
he makes the most deals.
For sure.
I really like Mr. Wonderful, the guy. I think he's great.
I do too.
I think they're all really good.
I'm a big Barb guy.
I love Barbara.
I love Barbara.
Do you know what Mr. Wonderful said once to Barbara?
No.
That I thought she wasn't there, but somebody came on with like and you know, if you don't know Shark Tank, it's like they come on with an invention and they try to make a deal where one of these billionaires gives them money for their company.
Yeah.
But anyhow, somebody came on with a new and improved broom that would do, like it would vacuum as well, but it was a broom. And they brought on old school brooms. And at the end of it, Mr. Wonderful said, "Do you mind if I keep that broom? I need one of these new every 6 months or so for Barbara's transportation." Is that a funny letter? Well, that was hilarious.
Great line.
But I love that show. But now, and I see inventions all the time. I'm like, damn, I wish I had thought of that. But now I think everything new is on the phone. You know, it's like you can't. How do you create a new video game or anything electronic? It's always the phone. There was a fantastic invention years ago. I thought it was really great. If you're at a concert or something at a coliseum or a football stadium and you park in row C, spot 12. You'd take a picture of it, or you'd say into your device, you'd say row C, spot 12, because later you could find your car. Well, now of course the cell phone did away with all that. The smartphone did away with that.
Yeah,
the Garmin devices, all of those
100%.
things, just gone. They just get wiped out.
I don't know where anything is.
No,
I'm
I know.
so reliant on GPS on my phone now.
Oh,
I don't have to pay attention to anything.
My son said to me the other day, in olden times, that's what he calls it when I was young. He says, in olden times, how did you get around? And I was like, what do you mean? Somebody just told you go 3 miles, turn left on Jones Street, look for the Chick-fil-A, turn right. And he's like, oh my God. I mean, he was like,
that's stressful to think about.
How could you possibly do that?
It's like my biggest thing is when people yell numbers at me.
And you don't like that.
It's like, you ever been to such and such? I'm like, no. It's the corner like 158 and 380. I'm like, no, I don't know any of these numbers, man. It is down the street from 64. I'm like, I don't know.
I think we might be better off if they'd never.
I agree.
I mean, I do. I think that, and I used to have to remember people's phone numbers or write them down.
Yeah.
You know, you had people's in your date, all that stuff. Which I know my wife's number. I don't know my kids' numbers. You know, the other day I lost my phone, so I was calling my wife from a landline, hoping she'd pick up to track me. She tracks me. I have that Life 360.
Yeah.
You can't get away.
That's another great thing.
Well,
is that one thing that you wish had never been invented? Can't hide from anybody.
I can't get away from her. She knows to the point where if I'm passing a Chick-fil-A, she'll text me and say, "Give me some fries." You know, she'll get in there.
Don't even think about it.
She'll do that. Or don't come in. Exactly. I mean, really, that's difficult. I had it once when I used to work at a barbecue place. This is like the line on Shark Tank. This girl was sweeping, and we were short one broom or whatever. And the guy working there, his girlfriend's name was Sherry. And the other girl said, "Sherry, your broom's ready." And he goes, "Take off." Classic. So when I saw that on Shark Tank, I immediately thought back to that. Anyhow.
So would you say it would be the smartphone? It's like maybe
I think in my generation, or in my lifetime, the biggest invention is the smartphone. But of course, that was only gotten because of the internet.
Yeah.
You know. But I think, what about you? Is there something? Because you do remember the smartphone coming.
Yeah. See, that was always kind of prevalent. You know, I don't think it's been invented yet.
Oh, really?
I don't think the thing that's really kind of shocked me. Yeah. It might be this new AI stuff that's popping up.
That scares me.
It scares me too.
Scares the crap out of me.
And it may be so scary that it becomes amazing. So
maybe. I mean, what I've learned over so many years, it's like social media I hate. You know, you're going to promote this podcast on 8 levels of social media. And I can't stand it. I mean, most of the time I see social media. My son sends me stuff on Instagram, or I see people on Facebook. I'm like, why does anybody waste their time with this? I absolutely loathe it.
Yeah.
However, I mean, young people like yourself love it, and I get it. And I think it's sucked. The newspaper is no more, and I think that's really unfortunate. All those things. I don't like it. And now with AI, I just think, where's it going? It's like you can use it in many good ways. A doctor can figure out 8 diseases that might be wrong with you that he wouldn't have thought of otherwise, or it can be used to fake the president giving a speech he didn't give.
Well, I think the thing about AI, and I think it's based around a lot of things that have become popular now, and it's just the level of convenience. I don't think that AI can do anything that a human can't, especially with like writing a speech.
Right.
Somebody can sit down and write that speech.
Yeah.
Do you want to sit down
Of
and
course
write
not.
that speech?
And it'll take-
Or, you know, we were talking about the other day, somebody officiated a wedding.
Yes.
Like the computer did it.
Yes.
A computer can do that, but a human can also.
Yes,
they just
that's
didn't
right.
want to have to pay a priest.
Well,
And it's kind of like the same thing with DoorDash or Uber Eats. It's like, you can go pick that food up.
Well, see, I do.
Yeah, and I'm bad about ordering
About
off
not.
DoorDash. Yeah.
See, I'm way too judgy. But if I see somebody like your age who has not that much money ordering off DoorDash, I think, what are you doing? You know,
I'm gonna be honest. Ever since I moved back in with my parents, my mom is like so anti-door.
Yeah.
She's like, no, I don't want to
Don't
see
waste the
nobody
money on
pulling up
that.
to my driveway,
Don't waste the
dropping
money
you
on
food
that.
off.
I was with one time a girl who worked here, and now this, I'm wrong about this, but she was 20 years old, and she had, I was basically looking at her little short shorts, and I was probably 40 and she was 20, and she was complaining about no money. I heard her telling her friend, I have no money, I have no money, I have no money. And she had her cell phone in her back pocket, and she was constantly on it. And I was like, yeah, but you just paid $1,000 for this phone. Now you have to have the phone.
Sure.
Now. I think now I'm wrong about
It's
that.
necessary to have
It
a
is.
smartphone.
You absolutely
yes.
have to have. Otherwise, you just can't get it done. I just saw, though, that the actor Michael Cera, you're a fan?
Love Michael Cera.
Are you going to go to the Barbie movie?
I'm thinking about it.
Well, I know.
I'm gonna do the Oppenheimer Barbie double feature.
You're doing that?
Yes.
I hear a lot of people are doing that.
I'm going to do that. Oppenheimer first. No, edible first.
Yep.
Then Oppenheimer.
Oh, you need that.
Then I'm going to go have a lunch, and then I'm going to come back and watch Barbie.
I think you should have the edible for Barbie. Don't you think?
No, see those graphic nude scenes?
Oh,
a little
right. In
tote?
Oppenheimer?
That would be great. Yeah.
I hear they're doing graphic nude scenes. Michael Cera, who's in the Barbie movie, they had a big group chat he wasn't a part of because he still has a flip phone. And he's a young guy.
Yeah.
And he said he didn't want to be part of the smartphone.
That's one of the great things about being rich.
Yeah, you can.
You know what I'm saying?
Because your assistant can do it
Yes,
for you.
exactly.
You don't need.
You don't need access to all that stuff.
He can tell his assistant, book me a dinner at the Palms while I'm here on my flip phone, and I look cool.
And I need it so I can get directions to a place I've been 15 times.
That's a good point.
You know what I'm saying?
That's a good
I need
point.
that GPS.
Yeah, my son certainly does. I just read, this is about AI. Chatbots are now taking orders at McDonald's, Wendy's, Dunkin' Donuts, and White Castle drive-thrus. And the question is, are they going to do better than human beings eventually? I think it might be left to them eventually. Because the humans when I go through the drive-thru, they're so...
No,
it's awful.
It's hard to get people who care about anything.
Right.
That's the thing.
Yeah. Well,
You
they're using that for that technology, the chatbots, and it's gotten mixed reviews. Like some say, yeah, it's great, and some say, but they of course they don't get tired, they don't go to the bathroom, and they never make a mistake. The AI there, so it's going that direction for sure. Yeah. Let me give you this. I thought we'd end each podcast with a fact you didn't know. I have 3, in fact, facts you didn't know. You tell me how good this is. Mm-hmm. And the only movie I've seen, by the way, 2 movies on the same day. I saw Summersby and Groundhog Day on the same day, back to back. I went
Summersby. I've never even heard of that.
That was, what year did Groundhog Day come out? 93?
What's it? Okay,
92, 93. You know Groundhog Day?
I love Groundhog Day.
I just read that was the funniest movie ever made. Somebody put it on a list as funniest movie ever made.
I would like to hear an argument for it. I don't agree, but sure.
Now, I can't say it's the funniest, but it's really, really good. I expected to like Summersby a lot better. That's a Richard Gere project, along with Jodie Foster. He went off to the Civil War and came home. Everybody thought he was dead. And then she noticed differences about him. So it was like, is it really him or not? Or someone that looked. Anyway, it's a decent movie, but I saw them back to back. I could never do the 2 movies back to back, Oppenheimer and Barbie, because I couldn't sit there that long.
I did Manchester by the Sea and La La Land back to back.
Oh my God.
On Christmas Day.
Those are probably 2 of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah, Manchester was super depressing, and La La Land was. I hated La La Land.
I know, and I loved it.
Yeah,
I think La La Land is the best movie of the 2000s.
Snooze fest. Absolutely.
Loved every second of it. I thought both of them were amazing. And the ending, I absolutely loved. I love La La Land. And I'm a guy, and I'm straight. Okay, I am. But people say, my God, you liked La La. And people either love that movie or hate it. Yeah. I thought it should have won the Oscar. When they called it by accident, I was pissed that it didn't win. I was so upset that because
you were even more pissed when Moonlight won, right?
What? Talk about a snooze fest. I tried to watch that.
What a great movie Moonlight was. Okay,
oh my God. I thought that was I couldn't get into that
The
at all.
acting in that movie was insane.
I love La La Land.
Amazing Moonlight was.
Manchester by the Sea is phenomenal.
It is. Very underrated.
Absolutely.
Very underrated.
It is so, you know what the great thing about that movie? Manchester by the Sea is one of the darkest, most difficult movies to watch. And I think they intentionally titled it Manchester by the Sea because it's like a fun, it's like a vacation destination.
Yeah.
You know, it's a beautiful setting
Yeah.
for an incredibly depressing movie.
Well, it's like when I saw it, Casey Affleck was getting a lot of Oscar buzz.
Yeah.
And then I was halfway through the movie. I'm like, dude, he's not doing anything. And then you finally like get to it and you're like,
Oh, yeah.
he
Halfway
actually-
through.
He
amazing.
killed that. Yeah.
Jeez. He had a quiet, like,
He
depression.
internalized everything. And I was
Yeah.
like, that boy good.
He got a little canceled after that, didn't he?
He did. Yeah. He said something to somebody.
He had been in trouble for hitting a girl
I think
or
so,
something
yeah,
like
yeah,
that,
yeah.
and he got canceled.
Yeah.
What do you think about the Northwestern coach being ousted after?
I just heard that he was gone. I didn't know if there was any.
Well, they had a hazing issue at Northwestern. First, they said, okay, you just get 2 weeks suspension. The athletic director did, and he's a big name, Pat Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
It's a big name at Northwestern, and had done a great job at a school that's not good in football.
Yeah.
But after the 2-week suspension was given, people on social media was like, oh, no, it's way more than that. It should be more than that. And then, and I have to credit, apparently the student newspaper there said he should have known about what was going on, and maybe he did know, and he probably, for everything I read later, said he did deserve to be fired, and they fired him. They got rid of him. And he'll probably get another job because he is in 2 or 3 years.
Now, this isn't going to be like a big Paterno, Sandusky type of thing. It's not
Well,
gonna turn into
actually,
that?
I did read one article saying there could be more underneath the surface.
Wow.
I don't know that for sure, but he wound up losing his job, and in this case, it appears that is right.
All for a
right
crappy
thing.
football program. That sucks.
Yeah, well, his record for the last few years is 4-20.
Yeah.
and no one had talked about firing him, and that tells you what kind of reputation.
Maybe
he
they
had
should have
there.
been hazing him.
Well, yeah, maybe.
Maybe they should have got him.
What do you
on
think?
track.
I mean, in this day and age, see, 20 years ago, you could have the argument, oh, hazing makes a man out of you. Now,
Yeah, they can't do
you
that.
don't do that anymore.
No.
That's all gone. That's the generation gap between us. All right, here's something you did not know to end this podcast. Calling someone a chicken makes absolutely no sense at all. Chickens are one of the bravest birds on earth.
Facts.
All right, yeah. Speaking,
I grew up with chickens.
yes, you did.
They were just audacious animals.
You knew that already.
Yes.
You grew up with chickens.
Yeah, I grew up in the suburbs with chickens, and they used to attack my dad all the time.
Was he one of those that got there?
He would go get the eggs.
Yeah.
They're
Oh,
actually
did you?
my brothers, but then my dad ended up taking care of them. He'd go get the eggs, and then as soon as he turned around, the big rooster would just run and
Really?
peck his legs and stuff
And
like
were
that.
the eggs as good as you?
Oh my gosh, amazing! Some of the best eggs ever.
And you don't do. He doesn't do it anymore.
No. I was a kid when this was going on.
Those eggs, they say that it makes a huge difference.
It's a big difference. If you can get some farm fresh eggs,
Do it.
get on it.
They say to wash them though because there's chicken crap all over.
You can do that too. It doesn't matter. Yeah.
You're not a man who washes much, but you eat.
No.
I think it's a pretty good podcast. That's
Absolutely.
for the first one. I like it.
Maybe we'll try it out again.
So you're putting it on all these different platforms.
I'm putting it everywhere.
We're calling it the Square and the Round.
Square and the Round.
I'm
yes.
the Square. You're the Round.
That's me.
Join us next week.